Captain, are you afraid? Of the battle coming? Minseok considered the Krenth armada emerged from faster-than-light travel, like a swarm of locusts. 3,000 warships filled the space around Velis Prime, blocking out the stars. On the station, alarms wailed as sensors registered the massive force. Commander Hyunwoo stood in the command center, his hands gripping the console so tightly his knuckles turned white. The display showed red icons representing enemy ships spreading out in attack formation. There were so many that the computer had trouble tracking them all. All ships report ready, Officer Jisoo said, her voice surprisingly steady. Human fleet is in position. Hyunwoo opened a channel to the TDS Indomitable. Admiral Daeho, they have arrived. We see them, Commander, Daeho replied calmly. Remember the plan. Keep your shields up and trust us. The Krenth Grand Commander surveyed the system from his massive flagship. He had brought the full might of the swarm to crush these defenders. The loss of the initial raiding fleet had been an insult that demanded overwhelming response. What forces do they have? He demanded. 12 ships, Grand Commander, his sensor officer reported. The same human vessels that destroyed our raiding fleet. They are positioned in a defensive sphere around the station. The Grand Commander laughed, a chittering sound that echoed through the bridge. 12 ships against 3,000? They are either brave or suicidal. No matter, destroy them all. Leave nothing but debris. The Krenth armada advanced, thousands of ships moving forward like a tide of darkness. On the Indomitable's bridge, Admiral Daeho watched them come. Weapons, are the mines ready? Yes, sir, Weapons Officer Yoonji replied. All systems armed and tracking. Wait for it, Daeho said quietly. Let them get close. Let them think they have us. The Krenth ships entered the corridor between two human dreadnoughts. It looked like a gap in the defense, an opening to exploit. Hundreds of ships poured through. Now, Daeho ordered. The mines activated. Thousands of small explosive devices that had been floating dormant suddenly came to life. They used tiny thrusters to position themselves next to Krenth ships and detonated simultaneously. Space lit up with explosions. Krenth vessels that had been charging forward suddenly found themselves crippled or destroyed. Shields failed. Hulls ruptured. Over 200 ships were taken out in the first 10 seconds of battle. The Krenth advance faltered as ships tried to avoid the minefield. Their perfect formation broke apart into chaos. All ships open fire, Daeho commanded. The human fleet unleashed everything they had. Railguns fired streams of projectiles that punched through Krenth armor. Missiles streaked through space, their warheads detonating with devastating effect. Energy weapons carved through enemy shields. Engineer Bora watched from the station with scientist Sujin beside her. The battle was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. The humans fought with precision that seemed impossible given the chaos around them. They are targeting the command ships, Sujin observed, pointing at the tactical display. See? Every human vessel is focusing fire on the larger Krenth ships. They are trying to break their command structure. It is working, Bora said in amazement. The Krenth formations are falling apart. But there were so many of them. For every Krenth ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The humans were outnumbered 250 to 1, and those odds were showing. A Krenth lance struck the human destroyer, Relentless. The ship's shields held for a moment, then collapsed. Energy weapons tore into the hull, ripping through armor plating. The Relentless returned fire even as it died, taking 3 Krenth ships with it before exploding. Relentless is down, an officer reported on the Indomitable's bridge. Mark their sacrifice, Daeho said quietly. Then louder, all ships tighten formation. Make them come through us to reach the station. Pilot Ji-hoon was in his fighter, flying alongside Seungmin and a squadron of human pilots. The plan called for the fighters to harass the Krenth fleet, disrupting their attack runs and protecting damaged human ships. Stay close to me, Seungmin said over the comm. And whatever you do, do not freeze up. Keep moving. Ji-hoon's fighter was fast and agile, designed for speed rather than combat. The human fighters were different. Heavier, more armored, carrying weapons that could damage capital ships. They flew in tight formation, moving through the battle like a school of predatory fish. A group of Krenth fighters spotted them and broke off to attack. Ji-hoon felt his heart racing as enemy weapons fire filled the space around him. Break and engage, Seungmin ordered. Ji-hoon, stay on my wing! The human fighters scattered into attack patterns. Ji-hoon followed Seungmin as closely as he could. watching in awe as the human pilot executed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Sungmin rolled his fighter, dove under incoming fire, and came up behind a Krenth ship. His weapons tore through the enemy fighter's engines. "Got him," Sungmin called. "Jihoon, 2 on your tail." "Brake left." Jihoon jerked his controls. 2 Krenth fighters had locked onto him. Weapons fire streaked past his cockpit. He was going to die. Then Sungmin was there, his fighter cutting between Jihoon and the attackers. Sungmin took hits meant for Jihoon, his shields flaring. He returned fire, destroying 1 Krenth fighter and driving off the other. "I have you," Sungmin said calmly. "Just stay with me." On the station, Marine Captain Minseok was preparing for the worst. The Krenth were sending boarding pods again, trying to take the station from the inside while their fleet fought outside. "All teams, defensive positions," Minseok ordered over the comm. "Let them land. Let them think they have a chance. Then we hit them hard." The pods attached to the station's hull like parasites. Cutting lasers began slicing through the outer doors. Minseok's Marines waited in the corridors beyond, weapons ready. The first Krenth warriors burst through the breach. They were met with a wall of weapons fire from human Marines. The humans had set up overlapping fields of fire, creating a kill zone that the Krenth walked right into. But the Krenth kept coming. More warriors poured through the breach. Minseok's Marines fell back to secondary positions, drawing the enemy deeper into the trap. "Now," Minseok shouted. Explosive charges detonated, sealing off the corridor. The Krenth warriors were trapped between sealed doors with Marines on both sides. It was a massacre. Talveen security teams watched from their safe positions. One guard said to his commander, "They fight like they have no fear of death." "I do not think they are fearless," the commander replied, watching Minseok direct his troops with calm precision. "I think they have simply accepted that death is possible and decided to make it count." Back in space, the battle was reaching a critical point. The humans had destroyed over 800 Krenth ships, but they were paying for every victory. 2 more human vessels were crippled and drifting. The remaining ships were damaged and running low on ammunition. Admiral Daeho studied the tactical display. The Krenth were regrouping, preparing for another massive push. His fleet could not survive another assault like the last one. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the Krenth flagship," the communications officer said. "Put it through," Daeho ordered. The Krenth Grand Commander appeared on the screen. His insectoid face was impossible for humans to read, but his voice dripped with anger. "Human Admiral, you have fought well. But you must see that this is pointless. Surrender the station and we will allow your fleet to leave." "Respectfully decline," Daeho said calmly. "Then you will all die," the Grand Commander hissed. "Probably," Daeho agreed. "But we will take a lot of you with us. How many ships have you lost so far, Grand Commander? 800? 900? How many more are you willing to sacrifice to destroy one station?" The Krenth commander was silent for a moment. "You are insane. All humans are insane. Maybe," Daeho said. "Or maybe we just understand something you do not. Some things are worth dying for." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All ships prepare for final assault. Make every shot count." But before the Krenth could attack again, something unexpected happened. Sensors detected new ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. "Multiple contacts," the sensor officer reported. "Identification. They are Porveen Defense Fleet vessels and Talveen Confederacy ships." "They are here!" Commander Hyunwoo stared at his display in shock. 30 Porveen warships had arrived, along with 15 Talveen vessels. They were not a huge force compared to the Krenth, but they changed the math of the battle. The Porveen fleet immediately engaged the Krenth, hitting them from a new angle. The Talveen ships moved to reinforce the human defensive sphere. A transmission came through to the command center. It was Representative Sujin, speaking from the lead Talveen ship. "Commander Hyunwoo, this is the Confederacy fleet. We came as soon as we could gather forces. Forgive our delay." "Better late than never," Hyunwoo replied, feeling hope for the first time in hours. The Krenth Grand Commander saw his advantage slipping away. He had lost nearly 1,000 ships. His warriors were demoralized. The defenders had been reinforced, and those insane humans were still fighting with a ferocity that shook him. "All ships withdraw," he ordered. "We leave this system." The Krenth armada began to retreat, jumping to faster-than-light travel in groups. Within minutes, they were gone. Silence fell across the battlefield. Then slowly, cheers began to echo through every ship. The news of what happened at Vela Station spread across the Talveen Confederacy faster than light. Within hours, every government official, every military commander, and every citizen knew the same terrifying truth. Humans had entered their space, and they had shown exactly why they had been quarantined. The Confederacy High Council called an emergency session. Representatives from all 5 member species gathered in the Grand Chamber on the capital world. The mood was tense. Representative Sujin stood at her podium, her green skin pale with worry. She was a scientist before she became a politician, and she had spent the last 6 hours researching everything available about Earth and its people. What she found horrified her. "We must address this situation carefully," she said to the assembled council. "The humans saved Vela Station. That is undeniable, but we must understand what we are dealing with." Another representative, Minho from the Talveen homeworld, stood to speak. He was older, more traditional, and clearly frightened. "What we are dealing with is clear, Representative Sujin. They are Deathworlders. They were quarantined for good reason. Yes, they saved the station, but now they are here in our space with their weapons and their warships. We should thank them and send them back to their quarantine zone immediately. We cannot simply dismiss them," Sujin argued. "They answered our distress call when our own allies did not. Where was the Porveen Defense Fleet? Where were our treaty partners? The humans came from across the galaxy to help people they had never met. Because they are violent," Minho shouted. "It is in their nature. They saw an opportunity for combat and they took it. Do not mistake their violence for compassion." The debate continued for hours. Some representatives wanted to reward the humans. Others wanted them gone. No one could agree on what should be done. Meanwhile, on Vela Station, Commander Hyunwoo prepared to meet the humans face to face. He stood in the main docking bay with a security escort, though he knew the guards would be useless if the humans decided to be hostile. His hands were shaking, so he clasped them behind his back to hide it. The airlock door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. 3 humans stepped through, and Hyunwoo had to fight the urge to step backward. They were tall. The shortest of them was a head taller than any Talveen. Their bodies were thick with muscle, built to function under gravity that would crush Hyunwoo's bones. They moved with a confident grace that reminded him of predators from the old nature videos of dangerous worlds. The human in the center stepped forward. He wore a dark uniform with insignia that marked him as a high-ranking officer. This was Admiral Daeho. He smiled, showing teeth that looked unnervingly sharp. "Commander Hyunwoo," Daeho said, extending his hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Thank you for allowing us to come aboard." Hyunwoo carefully reached out and touched the human's hand. The grip was firm but controlled. Daeho's hand was warm, much warmer than a Talveen's, and Hyunwoo could feel the strength in those fingers. This human could crush his hand without effort. "Admiral Daeho," Hyunwoo managed to say, "on behalf of the Talveen Confederacy, I thank you for your assistance against the Krenth." "Just doing our duty," Daeho replied. He gestured to his companions. "This is Diplomat Ji-won and Xenobiologist Tai-hyun. We hope to speak with you about establishing proper relations between our peoples." Hyunwoo led them to a conference room. He had arranged for refreshments, though he had no idea what humans ate. As they walked, station personnel pressed themselves against the walls to let the humans pass. Some stared in fear, others in awe. In the conference room, they sat at a table. Hyunwoo noticed that the chairs creaked under the humans' weight. Everything about them was heavier, denser, stronger. Diplomat Ji-won spoke first. She had kind eyes, but there was an intensity behind them that made Hyunwoo nervous. "Commander, we understand that our arrival was unexpected. We want to assure you that humanity has no hostile intentions toward the Talveen Confederacy." "Then what do you want?" Hyunwoo asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Recognition," Admiral Daeho said simply. "For 200 years, humanity has been isolated. We were quarantined not because we attacked anyone, but because the galaxy feared us. We have spent 2 centuries proving we can be peaceful. We have built a civilization. We have art, music, literature, science. We are more than just warriors." "You destroyed an entire Krenth fleet," Hyunwoo pointed out. "To save your people," Daeho countered. "We responded to a distress call. What would you have had us do? Ignore it?" Hyunwoo had no answer to that. Xenobiologist Taehyun leaned forward. He seemed younger than the others, more eager to talk. "Commander, I understand you are afraid of us. We know what the galaxy thinks of Earth. But please try to understand our perspective. We come from a difficult world, yes. Earth has high gravity, extreme weather, and dangerous wildlife. But that is just our home. We did not choose it. We adapted to survive there, the same as any species adapts to their environment. Your environment made you into weapons, Hyunwoo said quietly. Taehyun nodded slowly. Perhaps. But it also made us loyal, protective. Humans form strong bonds with those we consider our own. When we heard your distress call, we did not think about politics or treaties. We thought about people in danger who needed help. That is also part of being human. Before Hyunwoo could respond, Officer Jisu's voice came through his communicator. Commander, urgent message from the sensor stations. Long-range scans have detected a massive Krenth force approaching. It is much larger than the first attack. Hyunwoo felt his blood turn cold. How large? Over 3,000 ships, Commander. It is an armada. They will arrive in approximately 3 days. The room went silent. 3,000 ships. The humans had barely survived against 300. This was not a raid. This was an extermination force. Admiral Daeho stood up. We need to see your sensor data immediately. They moved to the station's command center. Hyunwoo brought up the readings on the main screen. The Krenth armada was enormous, a dark cloud of ships moving through space toward them. The Krenth do not forgive losses, Hyunwoo explained. We destroyed their raiding fleet. Now they are coming with everything they have. They will not stop until Velis Prime is destroyed. Have your allies responded yet? Chiwon asked. Hyunwoo shook his head bitterly. We have received messages of concern and promises of support. But no ships. The Porveen Defense Fleet says they are dealing with their own crisis. The others claim they need time to gather forces. They are afraid, Daeho said. It was not a question. Of course they are afraid, Hyunwoo snapped. 3,000 Krenth warships? That is enough to devastate an entire sector. My people are not warriors. We cannot fight this. Daeho studied the sensor readings carefully. His expression was calm, almost thoughtful. Commander, with your permission, I would like to remain here with my fleet. We will help you prepare defenses. Admiral, did you hear me? 3,000 ships. You have 12. Damaged ships. I heard you, Daeho said calmly. He turned to look at Hyunwoo directly. We answered your distress call, Commander. That means something to humans. You are under our protection now. We do not abandon those we have pledged to defend. You will die, Hyunwoo said. All of you will die, and it will accomplish nothing. Daeho smiled that predator smile again. Maybe. But we will take a lot of them with us. And we will buy time for your civilians to evacuate. That is not nothing. Jiwon placed a hand on the Admiral's arm. There might be another way. Commander Hyunwoo, we came here hoping to establish diplomatic relations. We want the Talveen Confederacy to sponsor humanity's application to join the Galactic Council. Perhaps this crisis can be an opportunity. An opportunity? Hyunwoo stared at her in disbelief. Yes. Let us help you survive this. Let us prove that humans are not monsters, but allies worth having. If we succeed, the Talveen can tell the galaxy what really happened here. You can show them that humans deserve a place among civilized species. And if you fail, then at least you will know we tried, Taehyun said softly. And your people will have time to escape. Either way, you are better off with us than without us. Hyunwoo looked at the 3 humans standing in his command center. They had come from across the galaxy to answer a distress call from strangers. They had fought a brutal battle to save people they had never met. And now they were offering to stand against impossible odds to buy time for an evacuation. Maybe they were violent. Maybe they were dangerous. But they were all so brave and loyal and willing to sacrifice themselves for others. Very well, Hyunwoo said finally. Your fleet may remain. We will work together to prepare whatever defenses we can. Daeho extended his hand again. This time Hyunwoo gripped it without hesitation. 3 days, the Admiral said. We have 3 days to get ready. Let's make them count. As the humans left to return to their ships, Hyunwoo stared at the sensor display showing the approaching Krenth armada. He had allied his station with Deathworlders. The Confederacy High Council would be furious when they found out. But they were not here. The humans were. And somehow that made Hyunwoo feel safer than he had since the first attack began. The human fleet moved with purpose that frightened the Talveen crew of Velis Station. Within hours of the decision to stay and fight, the humans had transformed the area around the station into a military zone. They positioned their ships in a defensive sphere, using the planet's gravity well to their advantage. They deployed minefields and automated weapon platforms. They turned peaceful space into a killing ground. Engineer Bora watched from the station's observation deck as human supply shuttles moved between ships. They were repairing battle damage, restocking ammunition, and preparing for war. She had worked with ships all her life, but she had never seen anyone prepare for combat with such cold efficiency. They move like they have done this 1,000 times, she said to herself. They probably have, a voice said behind her. Bora turned to see scientist Sujin, who had arrived from the Confederacy capital just an hour ago. The representative was here to observe the humans and report back to the High Council. Representative Sujin, Bora said respectfully. I thought you were meeting with the human leadership. The meetings are done for now, Sujin replied, coming to stand beside Bora. She looked tired and troubled. I have spent the day researching Earth and speaking with the humans. What I learned disturbs me greatly. Tell me, Bora said. Sujin pulled out her datapad and brought up an image of Earth. It looked beautiful from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But Sujin began listing facts that transformed that beauty into horror. Earth's gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, Sujin said, more than twice what our bodies can handle. The atmospheric pressure at sea level would make a Talvine feel like they were being crushed. The oxygen content is perfect for us, but the planet also has nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and trace amounts of gases that would be toxic in higher concentrations. That does not sound so terrible, Bora said. I am just getting started, Sujin continued. Earth has extreme temperature variations. At the equator, temperatures can reach 40 degrees Celsius. At the poles, -50 degrees. The planet has weather systems called hurricanes, massive storms with winds that exceed 200 kilometers per hour. They also have tornadoes, blizzards, floods, droughts, and earthquakes. Bora felt sick. And humans evolved in this environment? Not just evolved, thrived, Sujin said. She pulled up another image. This one showing various Earth animals. The planet is filled with predators. On land, in the water, even in the air. These creatures called sharks have existed for over 400 million years. They are perfect hunters, designed by evolution to kill efficiently, and yet humans swim in the same oceans with them for recreation. That is insane, Bora whispered. There is more. Earth has creatures called bears that weigh over 700 kilograms and can run at 40 kilometers per hour. Snakes with venom that can kill in minutes. Tiny insects called mosquitoes that spread diseases. Even Earth's plants can be dangerous. Some have thorns, some are poisonous, and some can even eat small animals. Sujin pulled up a final image. It showed a human standing next to a massive shark. The human was underwater without any breathing equipment and was touching the shark. The human was smiling. This is their world, Sujin said quietly. They evolved alongside all of this. They learned to hunt the hunters. They learned to survive in environments that would kill us in hours, and in doing so, they became the apex predators of their entire planet. Bora stared at the image. No wonder they were quarantined. That is what I thought at first, Sujin admitted. But then I spoke with their xenobiologist, Taehyun. He explained something to me that changed my perspective. Bora looked at the scientist. What did he say? He said that yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, they are strong and aggressive and built for survival. But that same environment also taught them about cooperation. Humans are pack animals. They form bonds with each other and with other species. On Earth, humans domesticated wolves, another apex predator, and turned them into companions called dogs. They did the same with cats, horses, and dozens of other animals. Sujin pulled up an image of a human child hugging a large dog. Both looked happy. Taehyun told me that humans do not see strength and compassion as opposites. They believe you must be strong to protect those who are weak. You must be capable of violence to prevent violence against others. They answered our distress call not despite their dangerous nature, but because of it. They see themselves as protectors. Do you believe him? Bora asked. I'm not sure, Sujin said honestly, but I am beginning to think that maybe we judged them too quickly 200 years ago. Down in the station's cargo bay, young pilot Ji-hoon was having his own encounter with the humans. He had been assigned to help coordinate supply runs, which meant working alongside human pilots. He was terrified at first, but necessity forced him to overcome his fear. The human pilot he was working with was named Seungmin. He was younger than Ji-hoon expected, maybe only a few years older than himself. Seungmin wore a flight suit and had an easy smile that seemed at odds with everything Ji-hoon knew about humans. So you fly the light interceptors? Sungmin asked as they reviewed supply manifests. Yes, Jihoon said nervously. I have been flying for 3 years. Nice. I have been in fighters for 5 years. What kind of maneuvers can your ships do? They started talking about flying, and Jihoon found himself relaxing. Sungmin was enthusiastic and knowledgeable. He asked questions about Talveen ships and shared stories about human fighters. Some of his stories were terrifying. He talked casually about flying through asteroid fields and pulling maneuvers that involved 15 G-forces. 15 Gs? Jihoon asked in disbelief. That would kill a Talveen. Yeah, it is rough on us too, Sungmin admitted. We black out sometimes if we are not careful. But the G-suits help and we train for it. Why would you ever need to fly like that? Sungmin's expression became serious. Because sometimes you need to get between an enemy and the people you are protecting. Speed and maneuverability can mean the difference between saving lives and watching people die. Jihoon thought about that. Is that why you came when we called for help? To protect us? Of course, Sungmin said simply. You needed help. We could provide it. That is all that mattered. But you do not even know us. Does not matter, Sungmin replied. You are people. You were in danger. That is enough. Over the next 2 days, Jihoon and Sungmin worked together often. Jihoon learned that Sungmin liked music from Earth, something called rock and roll. He learned that Sungmin had a family back on Earth, parents, 2 sisters, and a dog named Max. He learned that humans laughed easily and told jokes even in stressful situations. He learned that maybe humans were not monsters after all. Just people from a hard world who had learned to be hard themselves. In the station's command center, Admiral Dae-ho and Commander Hyun-woo reviewed battle plans. The Admiral had set up a tactical display showing the Krenth approach vector and the human defensive positions. They will come at us in waves, Dae-ho explained. The Krenth do not do subtle tactics. They rely on overwhelming numbers and aggression. We will use that against them. How? Hyun-woo asked. Dae-ho pointed to the minefield. First, we funnel them through these corridors with the mines. That will thin their numbers and disrupt their formation. Then we engage from multiple angles, forcing them to divide their attention. The key is to make them fight our way, not theirs. Hyun-woo studied the plan. It was ruthless and efficient. It also involved accepting casualties. You are planning for some of your ships to be destroyed. Yes, Dae-ho said without hesitation. In war, there are always casualties. The goal is not to avoid losses. It is to achieve victory while minimizing those losses. I will not lie to you, Commander. We will lose ships. We will lose people. But if we execute this plan correctly, we can hurt the Krenth badly enough that they reconsider attacking your station. Do you really believe you can win against 3,000 ships? No, Dae-ho said honestly. I believe we can survive long enough to evacuate your civilians and make the Krenth pay such a high price that destroying the station is not worth the cost. That is the best outcome we can hope for. Hyun-woo felt his respect for the Admiral growing despite his fear. Why do you do this? Why risk everything for strangers? Dae-ho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, 200 years ago, humanity reached the stars. We were excited to meet other species, to join the galactic community. Instead, we were locked away, quarantined, told we were too dangerous to be trusted. You were dangerous, Hyun-woo said. Yes, but we were also curious, creative, and compassionate. The galaxy only saw our capacity for violence, not our capacity for friendship. For 2 centuries, we have been alone. When we heard your distress call, we saw a chance to show the galaxy who we really are. We are not just warriors. We are also defenders, protectors, allies. And if you die here, Dae-ho smiled, then at least we die proving we are worth knowing. The next day, Marine Captain Min-seok gave a briefing to the station's security teams. He showed them how to seal bulkheads, how to create defensive positions, how to fall back in an organized retreat. The Talveen guards listened carefully, knowing that if the Krenth boarded the station again, this knowledge might save their lives. After the briefing, one of the guards asked Min-seok a question. The Krenth commander watched Vela's station burn with satisfaction. His warriors had breached the outer sections. Talveen defenders fell before them like grass before a scythe. It would be over soon. The station would be stripped of everything valuable and then destroyed as a message to others who might resist the swarm. Then something changed. Every sensor on every Krenth ship suddenly screamed warnings. Space itself seemed to tear open. The commander stared at his displays in confusion. Ships were emerging from faster-than-light travel. But these were not Talveen vessels. These were something else entirely. They were massive. Dark metal hulls covered in armor plating that looked thick enough to stop anything. Weapon ports bristled along their sides like the spines of some deep-sea predator. The ships moved with purpose, forming a battle formation with military precision that the commander had never seen before. "What species is this?" the Krenth commander demanded. His sensor officer worked frantically at the controls. "Unknown, Commander. The computer cannot identify them." "Wait, there is a match in the old archives." The officer went still. "These are human vessels. From Earth." The Krenth commander felt something he rarely experienced. Fear. He had heard stories about humans, whispered among the warrior castes, a quarantined species, a Deathworld race that had been locked away for the safety of the galaxy. On Velas Station, Commander Hyunwoo stared at the viewing screens in disbelief. The human fleet had arrived exactly when they said they would. There were 12 ships, each one larger than anything in the Talveen Navy. They looked like they had been built for war and nothing else. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission," Jisoo said, her voice shaking. "It is from the human flagship." "Put it through," Hyunwoo ordered. The screen changed to show a human face. Admiral Daeho looked exactly like the pictures Hyunwoo had seen in the old archives. Strong features, dark eyes that focused with unnerving intensity, and an expression of complete confidence. When he spoke, his voice was deep and steady. "This is Admiral Daeho of the Terran Defense Fleet to Velas Station. We received your distress call. We are here to help." Hyunwoo found his voice. "Admiral, there has been a mistake. We did not mean to call you. You should leave immediately. This is not your concern." Daeho smiled slightly. It was not a comforting expression. "You sent a distress call." We answered. "That makes it our concern." He looked at something off-screen. "Besides, we are already committed. Engaging hostile forces now." The transmission ended. Hyunwoo watched in horror and amazement as the human fleet moved to attack. The Krenth ships outnumbered the humans 30-1. It did not matter. The human dreadnoughts opened fire with weapons that made the Krenth vessels look like toys. Railguns, magnetically accelerated projectiles moving at incredible speeds, punched through Krenth armor like it was paper. Missiles streaked across space, their guidance systems tracking targets with ruthless efficiency. Energy weapons carved through enemy shields as if they were not even there. Engineer Bora stood at her post on the station, watching through the windows. She had served on Velas Station for 15 years and had never seen anything like this. The humans fought with a ferocity that seemed impossible. When Krenth ships fired back, hitting the human vessels with weapons that would destroy any Talveen ship, the humans just kept coming. "They are not stopping," Bora whispered to herself. "Why are they not stopping?" A Krenth cruiser exploded in a ball of fire, then another, and another. The human fleet moved through the battle like predators through a herd. They picked their targets, destroyed them, and moved on without hesitation. There was no mercy, no warning shots, just efficient, brutal violence. The Krenth commander tried to rally his forces. "All ships focus fire on the human flagship. Bring it down." 50 Krenth vessels turned their weapons on the TDS Indomitable. Energy weapons and missiles converged on the massive ship from all directions. The humans' shields flared bright white, absorbing the impacts. Then they flickered and failed. "They are through the shields," the Krenth sensor officer shouted triumphantly. But the human ship did not stop. Weapons fire struck its armor directly, scorching the metal, tearing through outer plating. Any other ship would have been crippled. The Indomitable kept fighting. Its railguns fired continuously. Its missiles launched in waves. It was as if the damage did not matter. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Daeho stood calmly while alarms blared around him. "Damage report," he said. "Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7, an officer replied. "Casualties in engineering section 3. Fire control teams responding." "Keep firing," Daeho ordered. "Focus on their command ships." The humans were targeting the Krenth leadership vessels now. Without coordination, the swarm would fall apart. It was a strategy born from countless human wars. Cut off the head and the body dies. Back on Velas Station, the Krenth boarding parties suddenly found themselves in trouble. They had been advancing through the corridors easily, killing Talveen defenders. Then they received new orders to fall back to their ships immediately. But before they could retreat, something happened. The station shook with multiple impacts. Bora checked her sensors and gasped. Human boarding pods. They are coming onto the station. Commander Hyunwoo felt his blood run cold. Humans were about to be loose on his station. All security teams fall back to safe zones. Do not engage the humans. Let them pass, and Commander? Minyo asked in confusion. Just do it, Hyunwoo shouted. The human marines came through the station like a storm. They wore heavy armor that would crush a Talveen under its weight. They carried weapons that seemed far too large for any reasonable being to handle, and they moved with frightening speed and coordination. Bora watched through a security camera as human marines encountered a Krenth boarding party. The insects outnumbered the humans 3-1. The Krenth opened fire immediately. The humans did not even slow down. They moved forward through the weapons fire, their armor absorbing hits that would kill any Talveen. When they reached the Krenth warriors, the fighting turned brutal. Humans used their weapons like clubs when they got close. They fought hand-to-hand with creatures designed for combat, and they won. In less than a minute, the Krenth boarding party was eliminated. The human marines moved on, hunting for more enemies. What are they? Bora breathed. The space battle was turning into a rout. The Krenth had started with over 300 ships. Now less than 100 remained, and those were trying to flee. The human fleet pursued them without mercy. Every ship that tried to escape was hunted down and destroyed. The Krenth commander made a final desperate decision. He aimed his flagship directly at Velis Station and pushed his engines to maximum. If he was going to die, he would take the station with him. Admiral Daeho saw the maneuver immediately. Helm, intercept course. Maximum speed. All forward weapons target that flagship. Sir, we cannot reach them before they hit the station, the helmsman said. We can try, Daeho replied calmly. The Indomitable accelerated, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. The flagship shook with the effort. They closed the distance, but it was not enough. The Krenth flagship would reach the station first. Then Daeho made a decision that confirmed every fear the galaxy had about humans. Ramming speed, he ordered. The bridge crew did not hesitate. They did not question. They simply obeyed. The Indomitable slammed into the Krenth flagship at a speed that should have destroyed both ships. The impact was catastrophic. Metal screamed and tore. The Krenth vessel broke in half, its reactor exploding in a flash of light. The Indomitable tumbled away, massive sections of its hull crushed and torn, fires burning across multiple decks. But it had worked. The station was safe. On Velis Station, everyone stood in stunned silence. The battle was over. The Krenth fleet was destroyed. The humans had won. Commander Hyunwoo slumped in his chair, shaking. His people were saved. But as he looked at the damaged human ship still floating outside his station, as he thought about the Marines still hunting through his corridors, he wondered what price they would have to pay for this rescue. Commander, the human admiral is requesting permission to dock, Jisoo said quietly. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. They were in debt to creatures from a death world. There was no telling what humans would demand as payment. Permission granted, he said finally. What choice did he have? The humans were coming aboard, and the galaxy would never be the same. The alarm screamed through the corridors of Velis Station, and Commander Hyunwoo ran toward the control center with his heart pounding in his chest. He had never heard the emergency sirens this loud before. In his 20 years of service to the Talveen Confederacy, the station had always been peaceful. Trade ships came and went. Diplomats held meetings. Nothing ever went wrong. Today was different. Hyunwoo burst through the doors and saw his crew in chaos. Screens flashed red. Warning signals beeped from every console. Through the massive viewing window, he could see them. Hundreds of dark ships surrounded the station like insects around prey. They were Krenth vessels, angular and cruel-looking, bristling with weapons. How many? Hyunwoo asked, trying to keep his voice steady. 342 ships, Commander, said Officer Minho from his station. His hands shook as he worked the controls. They came out of nowhere. No warning at all. Hyunwoo felt cold. The Krenth swarm was known throughout the galaxy as raiders and killers. They took what they wanted and destroyed everything else. The Talveen had always avoided them, staying in their safe sectors where the Confederacy's allies protected them. Send the distress signal, Hyunwoo ordered. All allied frequencies. Tell them we need help now. Communications Officer Jisoo nodded and began typing rapidly. Her blue skin had gone pale with fear. Sending on all standard military channels, Commander. Our allies should receive it within minutes. The station shook violently. Hyunwoo grabbed his chair to stay upright. On the screens, he saw the Krenth ships firing their weapons. Green bolts of energy slammed into the station's shields. The shields were strong, but they would not last forever. How long until help arrives? Hyunwoo asked. Our nearest allies are the Porveen Defense Fleet, Minho said, checking his instruments. They are 6 hours away at maximum speed. 6 hours. Hyunwoo looked at the shield indicators. They were already at 70% and dropping. The station would not survive 6 hours. Commander, the Krenth are launching boarding pods, another officer shouted. Hyunwoo made a decision. Seal all outer sections. Move all civilians to the core. Get everyone who can fight to defensive positions. He turned to Jisoo. Send the distress call again. Try every frequency you can find. Someone has to be closer. Jisoo worked frantically at her console. Sweat beaded on her forehead. I am trying everything, Commander. Standard channels, emergency channels, commercial frequencies. She paused, her fingers hovering over the controls. There is one more option. An old frequency from the archives. It has not been used in over 200 years. Why not? Hyunwoo asked. It was marked as deprecated when the old quarantine zones were established, Jisoo explained. It only reaches the forbidden sectors. Hyunwoo knew about the quarantine zones. Every species in the Confederacy knew about them. Dangerous worlds were locked away there, sealed off from civilized space. But he was desperate. Use it, he commanded. Send the signal everywhere. Jisoo hesitated for just a moment, then pressed the activation key. The signal went out into the darkness of space, traveling faster than light, reaching across the galaxy. The station shook again, harder this time. The shields were at 40%. Hyunwoo watched helplessly as Krenth boarding pods attached themselves to the outer hull like parasites. His security teams would fight, but the Talveen were not warriors. They were diplomats, traders, scientists. They had no chance against the Krenth. Commander, shields at 20%, Minho reported. Multiple hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Hyunwoo opened the station-wide channel. This is Commander Hyunwoo to all personnel. Evacuate outer sections immediately. Fall back to secure zones. Help is coming. He hoped he was telling the truth. Minutes passed like hours. The Krenth were inside the station now. Hyunwoo could hear weapons fire echoing through the corridors. His security teams were being overwhelmed. The screens showed Krenth warriors cutting through defenders with ease. Their insectoid bodies moved with terrible speed and purpose. Jisoo, any response to our signals? Hyunwoo asked desperately. Nothing from our allies yet, Commander, she said, her voice breaking. Wait, I am receiving something on the old frequency. The deprecated one. Hyunwoo felt a spike of hope mixed with fear. What is it? A response signal. Computing origin point. Jisoo worked her controls, then went very still. Her face showed pure terror. Commander, it is coming from the Sol system. The control center went silent. Everyone knew that name. Sol, Earth. The quarantine zone that held the Death World and its dangerous inhabitants. That cannot be right, Hyunwoo said. They were isolated. Locked away. The signal is genuine, Commander, Jisoo confirmed. They are responding. They say they received our distress call. She looked up at him with wide eyes. They are coming to help. No, Hyunwoo whispered. Tell them we made a mistake. Tell them not to come. But it was too late. On her screen, Jisoo saw the confirmation message. A human fleet had already jumped to faster than light speed. They would arrive in less than 2 hours. Hyunwoo slumped in his chair. He had heard the stories about humans. Everyone had. They came from a world of extreme gravity that would crush most species. Their planet had predators that hunted for sport. The weather alone could kill. Humans had evolved to survive all of it, and in doing so, they had become something the galaxy feared. 200 years ago, when humanity first reached the stars, they had been quarantined, not because they were hostile, but because they were too dangerous, too aggressive, too unpredictable. The Galactic Council had built warning beacons around their system and told everyone to stay away. Now Hyunwoo had called them here. Commander, shields at 5%, Minho said quietly. The station shuddered under another barrage. On the screens, Hyunwoo could see Talveen defense ships trying to fight the Krenth. They were losing badly. Ships exploded in silent flashes of light. Escape pods fled in all directions. How long until the humans arrive? Hyunwoo asked. 1 hour and 47 minutes, Jisoo answered. Hyunwoo watched his world fall apart around him. The Krenth were winning. His people were dying. And somewhere in the darkness of space, a human fleet was coming. He did not know which scared him more, the enemy already here or the terrifying saviors on their way. The shields failed completely. Alarms wailed. The station went dark for a moment before emergency power kicked in. Red lighting bathed the control center. "All personnel, this is the commander," Hyunwoo said into the communication system. "Hold your positions. Reinforcements are coming. Stay alive." He did not mention who those reinforcements were. His crew was frightened enough already. Outside the viewing window, the Krenth ships moved closer, circling the wounded station like sharks around blood. They were in no hurry now. They knew they had won, but they did not know what was coming. In the darkness between stars, the human fleet raced toward Velis Prime at speeds that would terrify any Talveen pilot. Admiral Deho stood on the bridge of the TDS Indomitable, watching the countdown timer. "Prepare all weapons," he ordered. "We go in hot."